Hello, have you ever wanted to create presentations and have like a standard template that goes with it? Jim Steam Clown, I got you. All right, so I will post this in the comments, link to this template. But basically, I create a template for all my presentations. I think it's really important and authentic with your students to when you present slides that you make them available to the students so that they can follow along while you're presenting and/or study them later after you've presented it. I also think, and this will be part of a second or third part of this session on templates, is I honestly think that a slide deck without speaker notes is kind of useless. It's only valuable to the person who created it and is presenting it, and so we'll talk about that later. Anyway, let's take a look at what I have actually in my template, and like I said, I'm going to post this so that you can get access to this template as well. All right, so obviously, Steam Clown is my education alter ego. I'm Creative Commons, open source. I post everything. I'm not. I think paywalls are terrible. So I'll have a title slide, and I'll be able to put my the topic that I'm presenting. I actually have a little link at the bottom here, or a little section at the bottom here where I put the date that it was created, and then the date anytime I modify it, just so that I can tell and everybody can tell like when's the last time this thing was touched. I also at the very bottom put a link back to the presentation so that if this gets generated as a PDF or something like that, it still has the actual link back to the original presentation. I'll talk about it later, but I actually have this little link here to this QR code generator, and I use that to then generate a link to the presentation and paste it in there, so then people can scan that and use that. All right, but let me just quickly walk through like all the things that are in my slide presentation. Let me just make myself a little bit smaller. Take myself right over here. I have a slide where it's like, hey, teachers, before you present, and this one's like turned off, so you're not actually presenting this. And then I'll have a couple of slides where you can put some title stuff, although I think I'm just going to delete those because they're not there. Like I said, I am Creative Commons, and so I create a licensing attribution slide and kind of my philosophy of why I think things should be open source, but I also like point to where maybe I got sources. So here I created a template to some Python stuff because I'm actually pulling a bunch of stuff from here, but I've got a couple of source licensing slides here that I can pick from depending on how I'm presenting it. And I think you should at least attribute any sources that you pulled material from, and that's all that is for. I do have the illusion and the thought that maybe someone would sponsor my curriculum material, so I have an opportunity for somebody to sponsor my stuff. Although I really haven't gotten a lot of luck doing that. And then I have a slide on resources needed, so that a teacher and/or students who are doing this maybe online or they can go and make sure they've got all the materials. Then I have a slide that's my overview, objectives, introduction, and that's kind of mixed with these two slides. These two slides maybe are the same, and sometimes I use this one and sometimes I use this one of basically, hey, what will you know? What do they need to know? What will they know when they get done with the presentation? Sometimes I'll put a slide in here on like how they get measured, and if they're going to be quizzes or if there's going to be a lab or how I'm going to grade them. Then I put in an essential question for them to think about as we get going. And so these first slides that I just showed there, those are like quick, and then I get to the essence of my presentation. And I can organize these in different ways. I'm still not necessarily completely happy with this template. That's why I'm going to give you the link, and you can like create your own and make it however you want. I always put in new words and concepts so that I can put vocabulary into my system, so that the students have vocabulary, and then maybe later I give them quizzes on the vocabulary. I have a slide here. I don't always use this one, but it's like, what are we going to be doing today? and what's the goal of this presentation. I also do have this little slide, especially when we're doing things where they need to link to some third-party tool, like a coding tool or some third-party learning tool. Sometimes you might have classes or lessons that are off on some other system, or to like whatever other things. And you say, when you see this, go do this. And I have a couple versions of that so that I can do it. I delete a lot of these slides as I'm going through. I might have a prerequisite thing, and at this point I would stop and I would say, hey, let's take the prerequisite quiz. What do you know before we even start? So that they can kind of potentially measure what they know before we present and do the lecture, and what they know after the lecture. I don't always use this, but it's an opportunity, and then I would probably link to either a Google form quiz or to a Canvas quiz or something like that. Sometimes I give them the option of students like, hey, if you already know everything we're going to be talking about today, go ahead and jump forward and do this. I don't always let them do that, but sometimes there's a topic that like 3 or 4 students like know really, really well, and like I don't want to have to make them sit there and do that. I just say, hey, jump ahead, go do the dig deeper stuff or the extra credit stuff, or finish the labs and then move on. All right, and then I jump in, and so at this point, I've done potentially 5 to 10 slides real quick, like 2 minutes, and then we're like ready to go. I don't actually use this slide very often. It's kind of covered with some of the other ones. I just have some templates, so like depending on what I'm doing, I can use different ones, and I just delete all the ones that I don't use. And then this is where I put my actual material, my actual content, and so then now you would just build all your slides and go through that. And then at some point you get to the end and you have some summary, and you have, like, okay, this is what we learned, and highlight that. And then I have a link here, a place for, like dig deeper and have things that they can then follow up on or keep doing more of, or, how do they learn more about this? Where are some resources, those kinds of things. And then I potentially have a quiz section here at the very end where they do some they basically check to see that they actually understood stuff. Sometimes I'll just have a few slides here where I go, all right, what's this? And we just poll the classroom or whatever. Or I actually have them linked to some quiz, and then they take that quiz. And so they took the pre-quiz and now post-quiz, and they can kind of check to see their understanding. And then I'll have a thank you slide. And again, there I'll typically have my contact information, so that whoever I was presenting to, they can contact me afterwards. Anyway, and then the last slides, I've got a reference section where I can reference any links for the students. I'm terrible at this, but I try at some point to put in the standards that were used in that lesson and lecture, and then an appendix, again, how my licensing is, a reference to any of the materials that I used, any of the images that I used, stuff like that. All right. Boom. If you've got questions, certainly send me a message. I'll be happy to follow up with you. All right. Bye.